Hello there. Welcome to a special edition of How to Live by God's Standard. I hope you like the view. We're doing this outside today. Today, we're looking at a principle, a very special principle of living by God's standard. And the principle we're looking at is having eternity in view. Keeping eternity in view is the discipline of aligning present day decisions with eternal consequences. It is a shift from temporal success metrics such as achievement, comfort, visibility to eternal value metrics such as obedience, righteousness, purpose fulfillment. This principle reframes life from being event driven to purpose driven. Life as a whole is not measured by duration, but by alignment with divine intent. Time is a resource, but eternity is the reference point. Earth is like a platform. Eternity is our destination. Engaging in activities is not proof of purpose. Alignment with divine standard is more important. Let's look at some scriptures. Colossians chapter 3, verse 2 says, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18 says, we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. Matthew chapter 6 from verse 19 says, do not lay up treasures for yourselves on earth. And Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 13 says, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And so from these passages, you can see that we are to live with eternity in view. Let's look at some principles. Eternal consciousness produces disciplined living. When you are conscious of eternity, when you are conscious of life after now, you will be disciplined in the way you live. When eternity is your lens, when you're conscious of eternity, you will prioritize what lasts over what trends. You will choose purpose over pressure. And what that means is that you will not be pressured to do what does not have eternal value. When eternity is your lens, you will pursue impact over impression. You will not live merely to impress people, but you will live to make a difference. Very interestingly, there are some strategic tensions that we have to manage if we're to live according to divine standards, especially in these last days. The first one is success versus significance. Success is good, don't get me wrong, right? It's good to be successful, it's good to pursue success, but heavenly significance is more important. Success is often externally validated, what people can see, what people can touch. But significance, on the other hand, is eternally evaluated. Not everything that advances your career profile or everything that advances your career or your profile advances your purpose. It is important to think about that. Something can advance your profile, but it may not advance your purpose. The other tension that we will have to resolve in our bid to live according to divine standard is comfort versus calling. Comfort seeks convenience, whereas calling demands consecration. And so it is important for us to resolve that. Comfort seeks convenience, while calling demands consecration. And when consecration is demanded, when consecration is required, then you have to throw comfort out of the window. Growth in God's agenda often requires discomfort in human terms. And so you must be willing to put yourself through discomfort. Another tension that we will have to resolve is business versus productivity. Business fills time. Productivity fulfills assignment. And the productivity that we're referring to here is relevant productivity because it is not all productivity that is relevant to purpose or relevant to God's agenda. And so the productivity we must seek, the productivity that we must pursue, should be productivity that is relevant to God's end time agenda, especially within the context that we live in. A full schedule can still be an empty life if eternity is not the benchmark. And so if you're busy, you're getting things done, if it is not against the backdrop of eternity, it will still be empty. So let's look very quickly at how to keep eternity in view. Number one, which we have made reference to in our opening, is the need to establish eternal metrics. All right, so you must switch your metrics from earthly metrics to eternal metrics. And in doing this, you must define success beyond material outcomes. You will need to ask yourself the following questions: am I obeying God? Am I obeying God? Another question you will need to ask yourself is my life producing spiritual fruit? And thirdly, am I advancing divine purpose? These questions are very important. And if you keep these questions before you, that is how you establish eternal matrix. The second thing to do to keep eternity in view is to practice daily realignment. Practice daily realignment. And what does this look like? It looks like creating consistent checkpoints. Let's say in the morning, for example, you're starting your day. You surrender your agenda to God. Planning must start in the mind of God, not in your own mind. Make sure you start your planning either for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, in the mind of God. And then midday, evaluate your alignment. Ask yourself the question: everything that I'm doing now, is it what I set out to do? Or what God defined for me for the day, for the month, or for the year? And then in the evening, audit your stewardship. Take stock of your life. So if you do this daily, it will be easier to do it weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. But let's just break it down to daily. So in the morning, you submit your agenda to God. Submit your day to God. Midday, you evaluate alignment. You ask yourself, how have I lived today? What are the things that I have done? Am I still doing what I'm doing in partnership with the Holy Spirit? Am I still submitting to the Lordship of God? So you do that midday evaluation, and then in the evening, you audit your stewardship. And the reason you do this is if there are gaps in the process, you can easily fill them. You can retrace your steps. You can ask for forgiveness if, in case of maybe a trespass or a breach. All right. So practicing daily realignment is very important. Number three, of how to keep eternity in view: filter your decisions through eternity. How do you do that? Before major or minor decisions are taken, you need to ask, will this matter in eternity? Does this strengthen or dilute my calling? So these questions will help you. Will this matter in eternity? When everything is said and done, this thing that I'm carrying on my head, this thing that I'm pursuing, this thing that I'm focused on, will it matter in eternity? And then the other question is, does this impact, does this strengthen or dilute my calling? That is how to weigh your daily decisions. Another way to keep eternity in view is to eliminate strategic distractions. Eliminate distractions. And I'm saying strategic distractions because it is not all distractions that are bad. It is not all distractions that are sinful. There are certain distractions that you deliberately give yourself to just to take your mind off possibly negative things, all right? So, but there are some distractions that are irrelevant that you must avoid. You also need to know that good opportunities can compete with God's priorities in your life. Something can be good, but may not be God. And so you need to pay attention to that. And those good opportunities can actually become distractions, strategic distractions that you need to avoid. Another thing is also that visibility can replace depth. And so you need to watch out for that. And activity can also replace intimacy. A case in point is Mary and Martha. Mary, focused on what was important, sitting down at the feet of Jesus to learn. But Martha was involved in activities. And so activity sometimes can replace intimacy. And so let's look at investment in eternal assets. Investment in eternal assets. How do you invest in eternal assets? We do that by focusing on what transcends time. And I want to say this, that you need to be able to see the value of what you do beyond time. What is the value of your job beyond time? What is the value of your career beyond time? What is the value of what you commit yourself to beyond time? You must be able to see it. And that is why we said earlier about a purpose driven life. When you live a purpose driven life, and it is a life that God has called you to live, you know that that life has value beyond time. The specific activities to engage in that you know will constitute eternal assets are soul winning, all right, living an impactful life, making a difference, winning souls into the kingdom. These are very important. Another is character building. One of the reasons we remain here after giving our lives to Christ is so we can become like Christ. And part of that journey of Christ likeness is character building. Another is obedience, working in obedience. And of course, kingdom impact, ensuring that your life is making a difference in society. All right, very quickly, let's look at some indicators that you're losing eternal focus. Number one, increasing dependence on human validation. When you are increasingly depending on human validation, you're losing eternal focus. Prioritizing convenience over obedience. That's another sign. The third one is chronic busyness with low spiritual yield. And the last one is neglect of prayer, the word, and spiritual growth. When any of this is present in your life, then you need to know that you're losing eternal focus. And the last thing I want to talk about uh, quickly is practical application. Let's look at practical application exercise. Daily reflection grid. At the end of each day, ask, what did I do today that has eternal value? What consumed my time but added no eternal weight? And what must I adjust tomorrow to stay aligned? This is very important. And this reflection grid will help you evaluate your day. And then you will see the things you did correctly, the things you did right, and areas where you need to make adjustment. And another good thing about this daily reflection grid is that it will help you to make amends very, very quickly. And that is why you see even organizations now, they don't wait till the end of the year before they do their performance appraisal. And the thinking behind that is that if you wait till the end of the year before you do performance appraisal, or even mid-year, a lot of this will probably would have gone wrong. But if you do it every day, particularly in this context, you'll be able to make the most of your time. You'll be able to see certain time wasters in your life, irrelevant activities, and then you'll be able to adjust towards the next day. This is very important. And so a life governed by eternity is not accidental. It is intentionally built. You will not drift into eternal alignment. You must design for it. You must plan for it. And so the bottom line is that if eternity is not your reference point, distraction will become your default system. And so this, for me, is one of the uh, most key and important principle of living by divine standards. God bless you.